Hello everyone, we are back. It's not the morning, it's 12:38, so it's like a little bit afternoon. But we will continue reading Sanford Meisner's On Acting novel. I actually have these little notes here, or these notepads, note tabs, to take some notes, and I already have one on one of the pages that I found was really, really useful. So yeah. All right, let's just go ahead and get to it. This is page 26, section chapter 3, the pinch and the ouch. What does it for you, Bruce, to imitate the other fellow movements? It takes the heat off yourself. To take the heat off yourself, as Bruce just said, to transfer the point of concentration outside of yourself is a big battle won. October 3rd. Now, Meisner says, looking at the young man who at the last session wore the shirt with pink lettering, your name is Vincent and your partner's name is Anna, answers the thin, dark woman sitting in front of him. Anna, good. Stand up and turn your backs to each other. Touching or not? Vincent asks. Not touching. Now, Vince. Come here. Vince goes to the gray wooden desk where Meisner is seated. And they confer for a moment. Then Vincent takes his place with his back to Anna in front of the room. He takes a few coins from the pocket of his jeans and drops them on the floor. You drop some coins, Anna asks. I drop some coins. Yeah, you drop some coins. Yeah, I drop some coins. Yeah, you drop some coins. All right, now listen to me, Meisner says, interrupting the repetition. Vince, I maintain that by this time you should have realized that she has good ears and told her. So, I wouldn't have been something you said because it would have been something you said because something she did made you do it. And you, Anna, had the right by this time to observe that because he dropped some coins, he careless with his money. That would be an assumption, says Vince defensively. Had the right by this time to observe that because he dropped some coins, he careless with his money. That would be an assumption, says Vince defensively. It would be an assumption which you could deny. I am not careless with my money. Do you follow? Okay. It would have been something you said because something she did made you do it. And you, Anna, had the right by this time to observe that because he dropped some coins, he's careless with his money. That would be an assumption, says Vincent defensively. It would be an assumption which you could deny. I am not careless with my money. Do you follow? Yes. All right. Use something new and begin again, slowly. After a moment, Anna Anna elbows Vince in the back. You poked me in the back. I poked you in the back. You poked me in the back. Yes, I poked you in the back. Yes, you poked me in the back. Yes, she says, amused at his displeasure. I poked you in the back. What's funny? He snaps. What's funny? What's funny? He repeats. What's funny? What's funny? Vincent says with an unnatural stress on his first word. Meisner interrupts him immediately. No, that's a reading. Until then it was very good, but what's funny was a way of creating variety. I'll show you something. There is a time when the verbal contact between you changes and it is based on instinct. Instinct. I'll show you what I mean by that. Imagine, Vince, that you walk into a department store and a friend of yours and you say, "Do you see that tie? I want it." Or you go to a party and across the room you see a girl and you say to yourself, "I'm going to have her." That comes from your instincts. Do you follow? Now, in this exercise, there is a change in the words that is dictated by your instinct. I'll show you how it works. He leans toward Vincent and says, sotto voice, Vince, whatever I ask you for the answer is no. Then in full voice he says, can you lend me $20? Can I lend you $20? Can you lend me $20? No, I can't lend you $20. You can't lend me $20. I can't lend you $20. You can't, I can't. You can't, I can't. You're a big, I'm a big, that's what I said. The class laughs. When the laughter ends, Meisner adds, now that change was caused by instinct. After a moment, the peers at Anna comically leering at her from behind his thick lenses. Will you come to my house tonight? Will I come to your house tonight? Will you come to my house tonight? Will I come to your house tonight? Will you come to my house tonight? No, I will not come to your house tonight. You won't come to my house tonight. He gave her a withered, scornful look. You're a professional. There is another burst of laughter. Now let's talk about that. When is something instinctive caused? When is something instinctive caused in you? How does it happen? It lives in you. Vince says. It hits you a certain way. That's right. You wouldn't lend me $20, so I called you a big. She said she wouldn't come to my house in such a way that my instinct tells me that she's a professional. Now, that happens in an exercise, which changes in the dialogue. The instinct changes the dialogue. Then it continues, and you wait until the instinct changes it again. Any questions here? So I called you a big. She said she would come to my house in such a way that it's professional version. Mm. Now that happens in an exercise which changes the dialogue. The instinct changes the dialogue, then it continues, and you wait until the instinct changes it again. Any questions here, Ray? What if your partner is doing nothing? Asks Ray, and your instinct tell you that this is aggravating. What if your partner is doing nothing? Asks Ray, and your instinct tells you this is aggravating. Use it. Then you say, but you're not doing anything, or you're aggravating me. You're aggravating me. So it's really like there's never nothing. There's no such thing. Meisner says, there's no such thing as nothing, there's no such thing as nothing, there's no such thing as nothing. What about silence? Sarah asks. Listen. Silence is a moment. A moment of silence is something too. Let me prove it to you. Ask me whether I think you have talent. Mr. Meisner, do you think I have talent? His head cocks away from her, and he maintains a complete silence. The class begins to laugh. That was silent, wasn't it? Meisner asks with his laughter subsides. Well, yes, says Sarah, at a loss of words. That's the point. The well, yes. It's the point because my silence was very expressive. Meisner says, silence has my myriad of meanings. In the theater, silence is an absence of words, but never an absence of meaning. There's a slight pause. Do you know that I don't have to look at my partner when we're doing the repetition and just say, you have a gray shirt on? You have a gray shirt on? Asked Rosemary. If he looks bored, I could say, you look bored. I could make a judgment of his behavior. There comes a point when one of you has to pick up the repetition and is doing to you. I don't care what it is. Are you bored with repetition? Then that could be the change. Or maybe your partner sounds a little annoyed at you from the fact could come the change. You're angry at me. In other words, your instinct picks up the change in his behavior. And the dialogue changes too. I'm talking about instinct. You walk into a store and see a dress. That's for me. That's instinct. If you take your time, the change in you, which is, I don't like to say automatic, I don't like that word, which is spontaneous, will happen. That's what you should work on now. Let your instincts dictate the change, not the repetition. That's such a crazy line. Let the instincts dictate your change, not the repetition. I need to write that down. Yeah. Change, not the repetition. Damn, we got like hella like gems in this novel right now. Like it's kind of insane right now. Holy moly. Okay. Let your instincts dictate your changes, not the repetition. Okay. We begin by discussing instinct. Now let's discuss where talent comes from. It is my belief that talent comes from instinct. What does that mean? Can anybody explain? Rosemary holds up her hand. I think we are already have the same instinct, and if we allow ourselves to be simple and uncultured, then those instincts or talent will appear. If you allow yourself to be open and honest. Okay. Meisner says the tendency nowadays is to follow your instincts only when they are socially acceptable. We fear being branded as uncivilized for liking or disliking something. Think of the girl from Miss Finch's school. She was taught to say only what was acceptable socially. A girl from Miss Finch's school goes to see her friend in a play, and her real reaction is that the performance was terrible. Yet, when she goes backstage, she smiles and and through gritted teeth says, "Marvelous." The class laughs at Meisner's accurate impersonation of debutante from Westchester. You can see the jaw tense to keep real instinctive remark from coming out. That's not good for actors. Can you see where that controlling is the opposite of spontaneous, deeply in instinctive behavior we're talking about? Wendy and Jim, a pale blonde pair in their early 20s, began to perform the word repetition game. After a few minutes, Meisner interrupts. Wait a minute, both of you. Wendy, you're being self-manipulative. Do you know what that means? Yeah, but I don't know why you're saying it. I'm saying it because you're doing it. You get control over what you're saying, and I say he has to have the control. What you're doing is self manipulative. Do you understand? Doesn't he have to take the control? What? You said I was controlling us. Isn't he responsible for that too? His responsibility is to repeat as is yours. You're really working from your head. You're not getting this exercise because you think that you have to manipulate verbal words, whereas all you really have to do is repeat what you get from him. Wait a second. Wait a second. Repeat what you get from them. Repeat what you get from them. Repeat what you get from them. Crazy line. Um, if you repeat what you get from them, you won't be at a loss for something to say. Your head is figured out what to say, figured out what to do next. How do you get away from that? by not thinking about it. I understand that because I'm a dancer and when I'm good, I don't think about my steps anymore because I know how to do them. It just happens. It has to happen here too. You follow? Jim, you have something of the same problem. Not as much, but something. How do you correct that? As you say, don't think. Just try and take what's there. Listen, I'd suggest going on with the word repetition, just working off each other. And the more brainless it is, the chances are better off you'll be. It's a question of repeating what you hear. Don't make up anything. You're better off saying, I'm stuck. Let's quit. Then begin again from another angle. Thinking has no part in this process. After a moment, Meisner asks, Wendy, how do you feel? I feel, see, I never thought a lot but I guess I do. So I guess it's good that I realize this before I get into trouble. It's good. It's easier not to think, I guess. Work from your instincts, Meisner says. That's what we were talking about, okay? Work from your instincts? Wendy, how do you feel? I feel. See, I never thought a lot, but I guess I do. So I guess it's good that I realize this before I get into trouble. It's good. It's easier not to think, I guess. Okay. Um, so I guess acting is about not having to think. Well, no, that's worded correctly. Acting is about um just of simply doing, not stressing out about, oh, I don't know what to say next or da 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 like yeah, okay, whatever. Moving on. October 6th. Joseph, you're doing something that you have to throw away right now. You're compounding the moments. See, if she had you've got a cold, oh, you'd answer, yes, I have a cold. I got wet. That's two moments. One of which is an intellectual explanation of the first instead of simply repeating what you get from your partner. If she said your jaw is tense, you'd answer, yes, my jaw is tense. I'm nervous. Those are two moments. Are you saying I should leave it as yes, my jaw is tense? One moment, one note at a time. Do you understand? Yes. Also, you overdo the word repetition. You comment on something you notice about her, but if you get no answer, you repeat as if it was necessary for her to respond to what you say instead of using her silence. I'll show you what I mean. He leans over to Anna, who is seated near his right hand, and whispers, Don't answer me, then fixing her with his gaze and pointing to her necklace. She asks, Is that a gold chain? Anna regards him without moving and in silence. Is that a gold chain? Meisner repeats mechanically. He waits for her answer, which does not come. You see, Joseph, that's what you did. You said the same thing twice. Now I'll show you something. Again, he looks at Anna. Is that a gold chain? He asks. Again, she regards him silently, but this time Meisner waits for her response until, out of expiration, he shouts, Don't look at me as if I'm crazy. Joseph nods, and Meisner continues, You should use her silence for a new moment instead of repeating it. The moment has changed. The moment has changed because of her silence. Do you get that? Yes, ask me if we are going to have class next Thursday. Mr. Meisner, are we going to have class next Thursday? He ignores Joseph's question, staring coldly off into space. The silence becomes painful, and finally Joseph says ruefully, I guess we're not. Or, Meisner says with a pointed smile, aren't we on speaking terms? Joseph nods. Did you get that? Yes, I understand. I thought you did. Listen, Philip, you have some kind of cocky idea that acting is a imitation of life. His exercise interrupted Philip. The stocky, blond, boyish young man chews his lower lip nervously. Meisner speaks slowly, with great firmness. You try to be logical, as in life. You try to be polite, as in life. May I say, as the world's oldest living teacher, polite. Meisner says passionately, you have to do one thing, and that is to pick up the repetition from your partner. And if he sticks his tongue out, that's not polite. That's not grown up. It's not the way people your age act. But you've got to do it. You mean go with it. Yes, and if your mother hits you, retaliate. I will. I've got to be around people who aren't so polite. You've got to be around people who follow their instincts. I know that's my next step to find a person who follows his instincts. No, Meisner says, it's in you. They all have it. Can't you see that? He makes sweeping gesture indicating the whole class. Whatever your partner does, you imitate it. Right, wrong, polite, or whatever. I tell you this, you cannot be a gentleman and be an actor. And you've got the idea that you're a gentleman. Yes. Forget about it. I'll try. Where did you get this delusion that you're a logical gentleman? People just kept saying you're a gentleman, you're a gentleman. And after a while, I must have listened to them. Philip, do yourself a favor. Kick them in the bum. Today we're going to talk about beginnings. I have an exercise that I'm going to demonstrate to you. It is basic, vital, and it may clarify something. John, stand up. I want to show you where you begin. There are two basic principles involved here, where you can write down, which you can write down if you wish. He leaves the desk to stand beside John, who is a head taller than he. Don't do anything unless something happens to make you do it. Don't do anything unless something happens to make you do it. Okay. Don't do anything unless something happens to make you do it. We're taking notes. I'm sorry, you guys. We are taking notes. That's what we are doing. Um, what you do doesn't depend on you. It depends on the other fellow. How are you learning a script? Are you pretty good? You're fast? Okay, write that down. What doesn't depend on you, but on the other fellow? Okay. Oh my god. Oh my god. Yo, crazy, crazy stuff happening here. Don't do anything unless something happens to you that. Yes, how are you learning a script? Um, yeah, how are you learning a script? Are you pretty good? You're fast? Here's your text. Mr. Meisner, can you learn that? Can I hear that? Mr. Meisner, John simply asks. Not bad, the class laughs. Now, I said don't do anything until something happens to make you do it. And I said that what you do doesn't depend on you but the other fellow, didn't I? Now, you've got a script. Do you remember it? What do you remember? Yes, what is it? Mr. Meisner. Perfect. Would you mind turning around, sensing what it is to come? The class begins to titter. What are you laughing at? I haven't done it yet. Then he reaches up and gives John's back a big pinch. Mr. Meisner! John shouts, jumping away from him. There is laughter and scattering applause. That, Miss Meisner says, it is the illustration of what I just told you. Don't do anything until something happens to make you do it, and what you do doesn't depend on it. It depends on the other fellow. Did I force that screech out of you? Yes, in the manner of speaking. That's justification. Okay, John, sit down. You're very good. Now we got into a more dangerous territory. Rose Marie, come up here. She rises and joins him in the center of the room. How are you on text? Great, Mr. Meisner. Mr. Meisner, that's my text. That's your text. Shall we rehearse it? What's your text? Mr. Meisner, Rosemary says. And what's the principle? Not to do or say anything until something happens to make you do it. Don't do anything. Never mind about saying until something happens to make you do it. What's the text? Mr. Meisner. Good. Good. Turn around on your back to me, please. Concentrate on the text. Don't do anything until something happens. Casually reach over her shoulder and slips his hand in her blouse. Mr. Meisner, she giggles, drawing away from his touch. You see how true that acting is? How full emotionally? Meisner says. I didn't know you were ticklish. The classroom resounds with laughter. Now look, I'm talking and illustrating something which is basic, which is organic to the technique. What did you see here? I saw truthful responses, says Joseph, the serious like young man with the deep voice. To what? To you grabbing or pinching them. In short, my pinch justified their ouch. Isn't that true? True. And their ouch was a direct result of my pinch. Yes. What's the principle involving this? Not to do anything until something happens. Did something happen to him? Didn't something else happen to her? Spontaneity is involved in this, right? What else? Truthfulness. Joseph replies, it is the basis of being truthful. Yes, it is. Builds truthfulness. Okay, we're gonna keep going. Almost done. Alright, okay. You know, in the early days of the group theater, the actors used to do what they called improvisations. Meisner leans back in a comfortable armchair, angled before the unlit fireplace in his paneled office. The class was a long one, and outside of a red sun is about to set. Scott Roberts, a large leather briefcase across his knees, sits on the daybed against the wall. These were generation. These were general verbalizations of what we thought was approximation of our situation in the play. We were retelling what we remembered of the story of the play using our own words. I came to the realization that this was all intellectual nonsense. A composer didn't write down what he thinks would be effective. He works from his heart. I decided I wanted an exercise for actors where there is no intellectuality. I wanted to eliminate all that head work to take away all the mental manipulation and get to where the impulses come from you. And I began with the promise that if I repeat what I hear you saying, my head is not working. I'm listening, and there is an absolute elimination of the brain. If you say your glasses are dirty, and I say my glasses are dirty, you say yes, your glasses are dirty. There is no intellectuality in that. Meisner glances for a moment at the framed back black and white photograph of Eleanora Dewes, which stands on his small maghog- mahogany desk. Then I came to the next stage. Let's say I say to you, lend me $10, and you say, lend you $10. Yes, lend me $10, and then goes on for 5 or 6 times until this vital your refusal sets up an impulse in me which comes directly out of repetition, and it makes me say to you, you're a stinker. That's repetition which leads to impulse. It is not intellectual. It is emotional and impulsive, and gradually when the actors I train to improvise what they say, like what the composer writes and comes from the head, but truthfully from the impulses. I know, Scott says, but the problem is that on a superficial level, all that repetitive back and forth can seem boring. Vincent, for example, the guy who's Anna's partner, told me before class that the repetition exercise drives him nuts. Ah, please, Meisner says with a dismissive wave of his hand. Vincent comes from California, for God's sakes, where he comes to have studied one of the legend of teachers who claim to have studied with me. Look, I'll tell you why the repetition exercise, in essence, is not boring. It plays on the source of all organic creativity, which is the inner impulse. I wish I could make that clear. He pauses for a moment. Of course, if I were a pianist and sat for an hour just making finger move in a certain way, the onlooker could very well say that's boring, and it would be to the onlooker, but the practitioner is somebody who is learning to funnel his instincts, not the performance. But the practitioner is somebody who is learning to funnel his instincts, not performances. But the practitioner is somebody who is learning to funnel his instincts, not his performances. Okay. Uh, the mistake we made in the group was that our early improvisations were performances of how we remembered the original play. You know, a friend of mine who owns the house in which Joan or Joanne Sutherland has an apartment says, sometimes she drives me crazy with the repetition of the scales, but then I hear the purity of tones and all is forgiven. I'm very non-intellectual teacher of acting. My approach is based on bringing the actor back to this emotional impulses and to acting that is firmly rooted in instinctive, based on bringing the actor back to this back to his emotional impulse and to acting that is firmly rooted in his instinctive. It is based on the fact that all good acting comes from the heart, as if were, and there's no mentality to it. All right, well, that's all that I have for y'all today. I wrote some notes down, as you can see there, and I also wrote a lot of or a couple of little sticky notes there, and yeah. So I am happy with where I ended off, and 18. 18 pages until chapter 5. Are we serious? Okay, well, let's see if we can make it for that. But other than that, yeah, I will see you all tonight. Peace. Hey, it's me, Mina. So it is 10:16 p.m. and I am officially winding down for the night, so we're gonna turn off my phone. Oh shit, wait, I have to. Charge my phone. I'm gonna charge my phone. All right, it's off. Um, we're gonna read for like 30 minutes, 35-ish minutes, because I'm also gonna be taking notes down. We're reading, yeah, Sanford Meisner, duh. Well, today I actually performed a scene at my acting class, and it was like I could have done better, but I don't know. Like there's just something about being nervous in front of people and wanting to do good that just fucks me over, genuinely. So yeah, you know what? It happens, and what I try to tell myself is that it's all a part of the process, right? If things didn't go your way, or if something happened and like you mess up or whatever, and like like it's fine, you know what I mean? Like it's not the end of the world, even though it feels like it literally, ugh, whatever, it's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. Oh wait, I have to freaking write it from chapter. I don't know my thing. Chat. The knock on the door. Okay. Um, have my sticky notes ready. Alrighty, we're just gonna go ahead and get started. Let's freaking do this. The knock on the door. Class motto. Repeat. From a brass plaque on the side of steel gray pearl water cooler gift of class 1971, which stands outside the door of Meisner, third floor classroom. October 9. Let's see now. I want to start something new today. Vince, go across the hall to the teacher's room where you will find a telephone book. Bring it in here, presto, presto. Vince returns in a moment with a thick Manhattan telephone directory. He sits at the long table in the center of the room, the book open before him. Last week, Vince, you met a beautiful girl at a party, and she said, I'm having a party next Saturday. And if you want to come to it, my family is in Europe, so you have to stay all night. Do you like that? Yes. Good. Now you wrote her name and her address down on a slip of paper, but you lost it. Fortunately, you remember her name. It's KZ Smith, and she lives in Manhattan on the east side in the upper 70s. Now, do you have a good reason to look up her address? Yes, I want to spend the night. Let me call your attention to something. I deliberately made this difficult. A Smith in Manhattan? There are 14 pages of Smiths in Manhattan. Another difficulty is the reason why you have to find her, or else I'll spend Saturday night alone. That's difficult. Anna, give him a little time to get into it, and then play the word repetition game, just as you've been doing it. Vince begins to search the Smith section of Manhattan telephone directory. He quickly becomes absorbed in the task. Then Anna says quietly, looking for something? I'm looking for something, he responds, and the repetition exercise begins. Um, it is essentially unchanged except that Vince's attention is fixed on solving the problem of locating KZ Smith, a task made more difficult by Anna's insistent pursuit of playing the word game. The result is that the dialogue is more focused, and there are more impulsive shifts in its direction, more surprises. That's pretty good, Eisner says after a few minutes. I invented something for you to do with that telephone book. That story about the girl with the obliging parents is sheer invention. But her, but finding her has a virtue. It is difficult to do. It takes all the concentration, and out of that, some emotion will come. He pauses for a moment. We're moving forward. Putting the repetition exercise together and an independent activity is a new step. That's pretty good. I invented something for you to do with that telephone book. She mentioned, but finding language is difficult to do. It takes all the concentration to put out all the We're moving forward. Putting the repetition exercise together with an independent activity is a new step. I want all of you to choose something to do which is above all difficult. It is not almost impossible. This is very important. You have to have a reason why you want to do it. You must have a reason why you want to do it because that's the source of your concentration and eventually of your emotion, which comes by itself. You have to have a reason where you want it. You must have a reason why you want to do it because that's the source of the concentration. Okay. Meisner pauses to adjust the microphone attached to his eyeglasses. Let's talk about this. To be attentive, to have ideas, is an organic part of being talented. You're all very imaginative, aren't you? The answer is positively. Go to Woolworth's, buy a plate for 10 cents and break it. Steal your brother's glue and put that plate together as though it had been broken. Now, consider, why should you do that? Perhaps you will get into a lot of trouble if it's broken. Say Rosemary. That has validity. Pause. That is validity. Suppose it's the best plate in a fabulous collection that your mother owns, and it has great sentimental value for her, says, well, Rosemary. And her anger means a big headache for you. Would that propel you? Remember this, the independent activity must be difficult, truly difficult, and the reason why you do it has to have a consuming reality for you. Hmm. That has validity. Suppose it's the best plant in a famous collection and your mother owns. It has great sentimental value for her, says Rosemary. Remember the independent activity must be difficult, truly difficult. And the reason why you do it is to have a consuming reality for you. Okay, October 13th. Let's go very slowly, Mosner says to Joseph and Beth. The young man with luxurious hair. This is so vital. It's the core of the way you handle yourself. Joseph, do what you have chosen to do. Beth, give him plenty of time to get immersed in what he's doing. Let's not rush. Take your time. Make a mistake. I don't care. Just make the first step. May I ask you a question? Asks Beth. During this exercise, when I come in and Joseph has a task, I feel like I don't want to keep interrupting because he's concentrating. If it were me, I'd just leave. No, it's not you in real life, Meisner says. It's you practicing an exercise. Should I make a mistake? May I ask you a question? During this essay, when I come in and just ask you a test, I feel like I don't want to keep it because he's not. I feel like I don't want to keep interrupting him. Or may I just. That's what I mean, my conflict. There is a tension. Then wait. Wait for something to happen. Yes. Where could it come from? Something that he does? Something that he does. Do you follow? Otherwise that otherwise what you're saying is that acting is talking and what I'm saying is don't do anything until something happens to make you do it. Otherwise you will create untruthful an untruthful thing. Let me try to make this clearer. Meisner pauses to light a cigarette. Now wait. I said we're going to go slowly. He regards Joseph. What are you going to do? You want an explanation of my independent activity? My nephew is sick and I'm going into the hospital. I'm making our cartoon for him to try to explain to him that he shouldn't be afraid. Fine. Do that as if your life depended on it. When I knock, you and I will begin the word repetition. Joseph carefully sharpens a drawing pencil on a small sheet sandpaper and begins to work on his cartoon. When Meisner sees that Joseph is engrossed, he knocks on his desktop. You want my attention? Joseph asks, looking up from his work. But you have to continue to do that, Meisner exclaims, referring to the independent activity. Uh, so do it. Joseph hunches over his work. Meisner regards him intently. What are you doing? What am I doing? Joseph repeats, looking over at him. Why did you look over at me? Why, to see what you were doing. He begins to draw again. A minute passes. Meisner, his curiosity aroused, stands up and walks slowly to the table where Joseph works. You're busy? He asks casually. I'm busy. You're busy. I'm busy. There is another pause. Meisner edges another step closer to Joseph. You're very busy, he says admiringly. I'm very busy, Joseph admits. Busy. Yeah, busy. Yeah. Oh, what did I just drop? Oh, oh, okay. Yeah. Again, there is a moment of silence, then Meisner takes a step that brings him looming over the seated Joseph. I'm busy too, he announces. Are you? Says Joseph, hunching over his drawing board. Yeah, I'm very busy, Meisner replies, leaning over Joseph's shoulder. You're very busy, Joseph says, and then in expiration he stands up and says, You know, you've prevented me from doing this. That's what I'm busy at, Meisner explains profoundly, and the class laughs. Now what point am I making? To really do what you're doing. You're busy bothering me, and I have to do this activity, and you respond too. Am I adjusting to you? I think you are. You're working off me, and that's what you mean. Falsely or truthfully? I'd say truthfully. What did I say to Sarah last week? What did I say to you, Sarah? A moment of silence isn't nothing, she replies. It's a moment as well. It means something, right? Acting is not talking. It is living off the other fellow. What's that mean? Acting isn't chatter, Beth says. It's responding truthfully to the other person. That's right. Joseph, sum this up for me. The meaning is in the behavior. You don't do anything until that behavior makes you do something. And then you do it in what way? You do it truthfully and fully. You really do it. You try. You do what it makes you do. You do what it makes you do. Now, Joseph, you had a certain merit in what you were doing in the sense that your independent activity was specific and it had some kind of meaning to you. The error here, which you will gradually overcome, is to think that you have to keep talking. What's the opposite of that? The opposite of talking? Joseph asks. Silence. Silence until something happens to make you do something. I think I'm gonna write some stuff down. I'm gonna write some stuff down. Um, that's right, Joseph. Sum this up for me. Acting is not, it means something, right? Acting is not talking. It is a living of the other fellow. What's that mean? Acting isn't chatter, Beth says. It's responding truthfully to the person. Responding truthfully to the other whoop, person. That's right, Joseph. Sum this up for me. The meaning is in the behavior. You don't do anything until the behavior makes you do something. Okay. The meaning is the behavior. Okay, and then the meaning is the behavior. You don't do anything until um that behavior makes you do something. Okay, and that means literally truth. Okay, we're gonna keep going. Um, you do what you do. You do what it makes you do. Now, Joseph, you had a certain. Oh wait, no, I already did that. Um, Joseph, you had a certain merit in what you were doing in the sense that your independent activity was specific and had some kind of meaning to you. The error here was that you will gradually overcome it. Is that you will keep talking. What's the opposite of that? It's silence until you. Okay. There should be silence till something happens. Okay. October 17, Bruce, a tall man in his late 30s with thin gray hair, has been casually moving bits and pieces of wood puzzle and of a wood puzzle in and out of a cardboard box. Meisner motions for Leela, a student new to the class, to sit down and then interrupts the exercise. Whenever you do what you have to do, what is that puzzle? And let whatever come from your partner come as an accident when which you repeat. This exercise works for you. But while she was up there, you were more conscious of her than you were absorbed in solving the puzzle. The reason was that this independent activity didn't work for me. Why weren't you doing it? There was $1 million at stake. If I put this puzzle together, I would get $1 million. Don't you think that's a little exaggerated? Maybe. I wanted to see if money would make it any more real for me. What about $1,000? Meisner asks. That doesn't mean anything. I thought 1 million was better. Then 10 million is better still. But that's not the point I want to make. I'm having a tough time with you, Bruce, and one of the reasons is that you are audience conscious. What makes you audience conscious? I can understand Milton Berle being audience conscious, but what makes you audience conscious? Stanislavski, no slouch, had a phrase which he called public solitude. He said that when you're alone in your room and nobody's watching you, you're just standing in front of a mirror combing your hair. The relaxation, the completeness with which you do is poetic. He called this relaxed behavior on the stage public solitude. On stage, public solitude is what we want. You have only one element to give up to get the area where your real acting personality is, and that is yourself. On stage, public solitude is what we want. You have one element to give up to get the area where your real acting personality is, and that is yourself. That has to do with the motive from your independent activity, doesn't it? The silly $1 million? It didn't work. It never will. It's not imaginative to say $1 million. It's exaggerated and false. What would honestly work for you? $100? Bruce said simply. So why theoretical? Wait, I need to write that down. Public solitude. Public solitude. Okay. Uh, relaxed. Okay, I'm gonna stop like writing so many notes. Um, so why be theoretical and theoretical in a false way? You see, only you have what's truthful for you. A couple of years ago, I was hit by a goddamn truck, and now there's a lawsuit going on. People say to me, "You're going to get $3 million." Do you know what my reaction is? I laugh. It's ridiculous. But when someone says you might get $100,000, I say, "Really?" That I can believe. Otherwise, it's ridiculous. Takes a puff of his cigarette. Since I don't walk well, I take taxis frequently. Do you know who was driving my taxi today? Mrs. Ronald Reagan. Someone chuckles quietly. Did you get it, Joseph? What are you laughing at? That's ridiculous, Joseph says. Of course. But if I said her son, the ex ballet dancer, the class laughs, truth and public solitude. Believe me, Bruce, you should have public solitude engraved on your stationery because that's what you need, not public exhibition exhibitionism, but public solitude. When you are at home, when you have a job to do, you do it. You comb your hair and you don't watch to make sure your pinky's out. You exhaust me. Have a seat. Oh my god, that's literally me. Like, that's literally me. October 20th. Wendy holds holds up her hand. I feel a little unclear about this independent activity. I mean, I find it very difficult to do this. It could simply be as doing the alphabet backwards, right? But there would be no point to it. If there's a reason, there will be a point to it. What's the reason? Meisner asks and waits for her response. I can't think of anything except that's right, you can't. You'd have to go to Bellevue to get a reason. Everything in acting is a kind of heightened, intensified reality, but it's based on justified reality. To recite the alphabet backwards is not reality. You have to invent some weird reason to justify it, and I don't know what that could be. Wendy nods in agreement. If you're a good carry caricaturist, like to take a minor one, that fellow who does all the theoretical characters for Sunday Times, Al Hirschfeld. Wendy says, Al Hirschfeld. Yeah, you always recognize the real source of his car- caricatures. I don't even know what that is. What I'm saying is that everything is based on life, on reality. My mind goes back to Edwin, who was Kenan Wynn's father and a truly great clown. He had an act which consisted, almost other things, of inventions. He was trying to sell the audience a very complicated machine that was designed to let you eat watermelon without getting your ears wet. Now that's ridiculous, right? But the feeling of desperation, the feeling of fear that he wouldn't exceed made it first class clowning. Meisner pauses. The moment is clearly meaningful to him. I brought this up because of what you said about how difficult it would be reciting the alphabet backwards. It would even it would be even more difficult to walk from LA on your hands, but it would be also crazy, which means abnormal. The greatest piece of acting or music or sculpture or what have you always has is roots in the truth of human emotion. Beethoven was in real life, he was a real, but his music is pure and based in his real feeling. This is why he was great, not because he fired his servant, which he did, because a sock was missing out of his laundry, but I'm saying is that the truth of ourselves is the root of our acting. The greatest piece of acting or music or whatever has roots in the truth of human emotion. Beethoven was a bastard, he was a real bastard, but his music is pure and based in the real world. This is why he was great, not because he was fired up acting. Hmm. I'm going to show you a brand new thing. Years ago, before you were born, there was a show called Florodora, and there was a song in it entitled "Every Little Movement Has a Meaning All Its Owning." Now I changed that a bit to say "Every little moment has a meaning all its own." You sort of know that already, don't you? All right, now a knock. A knock has a meaning. Follow this carefully. A knock has a meaning. John, go outside and knock truthfully, and then wait 10 seconds and knock a second time with a second meaning, then knock a third time. Three different meanings? Right. Ralph, you tell me what each knock means to you. There is a quieter rap on the door. Is anyone there? Ralph says. No, it was timid. Call it timid. Then there is an empathetic, rapid knock. Nervous. Ralph says. He sounds nervous. All right. Finally, there is a huge, booming knock. Angry, really loud. All right. Call him in. John reappears. John, everybody knocks so it has some resemblance to life. Don't knock theoretically. Your last knock was on the verge of being theoretical. Do you understand? John nods his head. Now here's the catch. The first moment of the exercise is the knock. The exercise begins with the knock. The second moment is the opening of the door, and the third movement is your interpretation of the knock. The third moment is the meaning the knock has for you, verbalized by you as you open the door, right? Then you go back and what you're doing. Then you go back to what you're doing. Do whatever the third movement permits you to do, and then go back to your independent activity and let the exercise continue. Ralph seems puzzled. Let's go over the knocking, Meisner says. After the first two, tell me what they mean to you. After the third one, open the door and then verbally what the third knock and then use verbally what the third knock meant to you. Then go back to your independent activity and and the exercise. Any questions? I understand the order of it, Ralph says, but if you were doing the activity and didn't want to be interrupted, then don't interrupt. Then you're doing the activity and you have to open the door, right? No, Meisner exclaims. Okay, that makes it clear. No, you understand? Yeah, no, you understand. I understand. Yes. Yes, tell me why. You don't do something until, okay, you understand. Leela, the thing that we have to correct here is to take away the logic because the repetition will induce a real emotion and the logic stays mental. Do you understand that? Yes, Leela says. A hennaed blonde in her late 40s. She is the oldest student in the class. Now look, you've had plenty of experience, and when you picked up a script in the past, I imagine your tendency was to read it according to what you thought was the right feeling or mood. Call it what you will. Now I'm pulling you away from that habit, and I'm saying a simple thing. Be foolish, be repetitive, keep up the repetition until something happens to you. Something that will come right off of you, right? Right. But to ask your partner questions cautiously as you did is using your head. And what I'm trying to do is get you out of your head. Do you follow? Get me out of my head, Leela says, into what? My emotional life. Point to it. Leela points at her heart. That's right. That's my first step, getting you away from indicating. Repeat to me what I just told you. You're trying to get away from using my logic to use your impulses, my instincts. Gee, if I could only do that. If you try to do it for 2 minutes today, you'll do it for 4 minutes next time. Do you follow? Right. I'll try. Of course you will. Repeat, repeat. What was your difficulty, John? Do you know? I felt like just getting through it. She was very emotional and I didn't want to make it worse, so I started saying to myself, "Get away." Isn't that in your head? Yes, exactly. Isn't that where you've been doing most of your acting out of a mental desire to keep the exercise going in a helpful way? Yes. Is that a good or bad for is that good or bad for your acting? Bad, very bad. That's stock company stuff, what you're doing. You're writing a logical text. The opposite of that is to work off her. Why did you do it? In my past, it's usually not trusting directors. It's just standing outside of myself whenever I got cast in something and feeling that this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. So I kept my sense of what's going on outside the work. Are you saying that I don't know what I'm talking about? God, no, I'm paying too much attention for this walk away with that attitude. Wait, what's happened? That's stock company stuff, what you're doing. You're writing a logical text. The opposite of that is to work off her. Why did you do it? In my past, it's usually not trusting directors. It's just standing outside of myself whenever I got cast in something and feeling that this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. So I kept my sense of what was going on outside of the work. Are you saying that I don't know what I'm talking about? Oh my God. God, no, I'm paying too much attention for this to walk away with that attitude. Then why don't you do what I tell you? Well, I'd like to. I don't know. I'm too ingrained a habit. Well, next time you have the independent activity. Make it something which is quite difficult and quite meaningful, and don't open your mouth unless you repeat. And if you're doing an experiment on cancer and your partner says, "I feel like having some spaghetti," you've got to repeat it. You're quite right. I suppose when you say some directors don't know what the hell they're talking about, they've got to trust your instincts and not your head. Talking about, but you've got to trust your instincts and not your head. The playwright gives you what to say. Your job as an actor is to fill the role with life. That's the point of of this exercise. I've been wary of your intelligence right from the beginning. I spotted that you worked up here. Meisner says, pointing to his head, I can fix it, but you've got to help me. What do I mean when I say you're doing the cancer experiment? And she comes in and says, I love spaghetti. Whatever she does, work off of it. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Um, I think I'm gonna stop there if I really be honest. Um, yeah, I'm gonna stop there. Oh, how many pages did I read today? I mean, like this thing. So there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, like 10-ish pages. Alrighty, well, yeah, guys, that's that. I will see you all tomorrow morning. Look at what we wrote down. Oh my god, so cute. Yeah, I'll see you all tomorrow morning. My head freaking hurts so bad. Peace out.